All right, we are live on 3 platforms: Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, and we are recording on Anchor. Welcome to Pardes Live, everybody. I feel like I'm sitting too low. Something wrong with this camera. But it's a Friday night. Actually, it's an early Saturday morning. And this is really late, just like all the past live streams this past week have been late. But it's okay, because it's Friday night, and you're not going to have work tomorrow morning, hopefully. Maybe you do, but sorry if you do. And also, I'm sure some of you have been out, and hopefully this is, in time for you to be home and, after your night out. Johnny Danko says he's drunk. Hey, Diacritical. Yes, I am an actual person. Hey, Raymond. And, this is the 100th live stream. The 100th live stream. Are you drunk, Raymond? I'm kidding. But I'm assuming a lot of people will be drunk tonight because it's Friday night and it's late. I have drunk a little bit. We're live. Another late night Friday. How many people here are drunk? Okay, lots of drunkies. A lot of drunkies! I'm glad you're pouring in for our, I'm glad you're pouring in. This is actually my favorite topic to talk about because I am an expert on loneliness, because I'm constantly moving from one thing to another. Moving from one place to another, moving from one job to another, moving from one relationship to another. Everything is just constantly unstable. And so I have and I travel a lot, so I have a lot of experience being alone. So I am hoping that maybe I can be of expert on this topic for you, and that maybe something I will say about this topic will resonate with you and maybe be useful in your journey, because loneliness is a big thing nowadays. Especially, I don't know what it is, but a lot of people, the more, years go on, the more, generations go on, the lonelier people feel. And, it's not all that bad. There's an excitement to traveling and moving around all the time. Some people secretly like it. And there is an excitement, and I don't get bored. I'm never bored. And I do have friends that I've had for years. Very few, but that's all you need. And it's not all bad. But when loneliness hits, it hits hard. And you could have an amazing week, you can have an amazing month, you can have an amazing year, but suddenly, one night, you're just sitting alone in your living room or in your room or wherever you are, in your hole in the wall, and you're just staring at the wall and you're just like, oh no, I feel so lonely. And it just feels like everything is just so empty in that moment. And you just totally forget all the people you spoke with in the past year. You forget all your friends that you have that are around you, and you forget that the loneliness is totally momentary. It's not permanent. It totally changes. Constantly. Your life is changing constantly. Even if you are extremely stable, your life is changing constantly. Even if you've been in the same relationship for the past 26 years, you've been at the same job for the past 10 years, you've lived in the same place your whole life, you don't travel much. Even if your life is so stable, it's still constantly changing. So whatever you're feeling now is not going to be the same. But you still need the tools to deal with it when you're feeling lonely. And maybe I live in a town where there are a lot of lonely people, and so that's why it's something that I think is important. But I think that I'm sure that around the country, if there's a huge drug problem, opioid crisis, and there are, there's a high suicide rate around the world, and just increasing social pressures and anxiety problems and mental health problems and all these things, I am sure there is a huge factor that has to do with loneliness. So I see a lot of people saying, if you're hot, don't be lonely. Why would a girl be lonely? And the truth is, actually, girls can be very lonely, even lonelier than men. Women are very social creatures. We need to constantly have we need to have that social, cushion all the time. And even more so than men, because, not all men, but even more so than a lot of men, because we are biologically meant to nurture and be nurtured. And it's much harder when you are living in a world where it's every man for himself or every woman for herself. And it can be a very cold world where you're not necessarily nurtured all the time. You're not necessarily in a team with other people all the time. A lot of it is you're just doing things by yourself. So my hope is that and you know what, I'm gonna start asking you guys how you do it. So I'm gonna tell you some of my tips, but everybody has their own way of doing it. Everybody's got their own tricks of the game, and I want to hear yours. Okay, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your ideas. Sneaker Love says, what if you're lonely and you're with someone, but it's just yourself that's lonely? Well, okay, if you're lonely and the other person isn't lonely, it's not likely that only you're lonely. It's likely that you're both lonely. Maybe the other person doesn't realize that they're lonely, or maybe the other person is not lonely because they have somebody else on the side. It can't be that one person, it's not common that one person is lonely and the other person is just totally fine and not lonely. Usually it takes two to tango, and there's never only one person that suffers in a relationship. It's always the way that a person makes you feel is often how they're feeling inside. and people vibe a lot in relationships, so oftentimes the way that somebody is making you feel is exactly how you might be making them feel without realizing it, because it's not about you and them individually, it's about your bond and how you're vibing together. Anyway, so okay, a few tricks of not being lonely. First of all, know that this is changing. When you get to that lonely place, tell yourself that it's okay. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be by yourself right now. You don't have to be around other people all the time. You don't have to have a whole community and crew. Everybody else doesn't necessarily have that. Just because they post it on Instagram or they're talking about it and they're bragging about their friends and this and that doesn't mean that it's always like that, and doesn't mean that they're not lonely. So just understand loneliness is very common. Let's look for some statistics. Statistics 2019. Okay. The loneliness epidemic. Oh, it's mostly seniors. Well, that's not good. The loneliness epidemic. Come on, show me some real statistics. Don't make me read through a whole study. I have to read through a whole study. Whatever. Okay. So a new report finds many Americans are lonely. Younger adults appear to be the hardest hit. The study published by the global health service company Cigna found that 46% of U.S. adults sometimes or always are feeling lonely. 47% report feeling left out. That's like half. That's like almost half of the population feeling lonely, and mostly younger people. Why are younger people feeling lonely? The people who should feel lonely are the people who are alone in a hospital bed, or alone in a nursing home, or like, the people feeling lonely shouldn't be younger adults who are likely to still be taken care of by their parents. Why are younger people feeling lonely? I'm sure there's many reasons for that. Raymond says it's due to social media. Maybe that's possible. You look at social media, you think that everybody else has it great. You think they have it better than you. You think they've got a bunch of friends, and you don't. But the truth is, they're probably just like you, and social media is just a great way to brag to people, and feel good, and or be proud of the friends that you do have and show them off, even though you're not going to necessarily show off the bad sides of you and the bad things in your life, because you don't feel proud and you don't want to show off bad things. So it's only going to be the good things that people are going to post. So social media is going to be one of them. And the idea that the thing about social media is, not only does it make you think that other people are doing it and not you, and other people are hanging out without you, and makes you feel FOMO, fear of missing out, but it makes you think that maybe it's supposed to be that way. Maybe you're supposed to be hanging out with other people, and you're not. Maybe you're supposed to, it's Friday night, so you should be out. I should be out. Because that's what people do on a Friday night. And the fact that I'm not out is not normal. And this means that since it's not normal, it means that I'm probably going to die alone. So social media perpetuates that form of thinking. West Coast Pipe says, am I the only person commenting and they still don't respond? Must be... What? Okay. I see all of your comments and you're fine. I see all of your comments. We've got a great moderator here. Just don't say anything. Don't troll or whatever. In Periscope, I mean. And you'll be fine. All right. Okay, so that's the first thing, mindset. The first part of it is mindset. The second part of how to not feel lonely is try to do the opposite of what you think is the right thing to do. The opposite of what you think the right thing to do is spend time alone, which sounds kind of counterintuitive. Why would you spend time alone if your goal is to not be lonely? Well, you need to spend time alone in order to prove to yourself that you are capable of being on your own. And you are capable of being on your own. So you need to spend some time alone to first of all, to get to know yourself and feel whole. Get to know yourself and understand that you are all that you need in life. You don't need what is having someone else gonna do for you in terms of basic needs? Do you need other people to feed you? Do you need other people to clothe? Figure out how to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, nobody else is gonna take care of you. And not only are they not gonna take care of you, you might be a burden on them. So you want, in order to, and you might be a burden on them and they won't make you feel less lonely. So in order to reach a point where you can benefit from the presence of other people in your life, you need to reach a point where you can be content with your loneliness and your being by yourself. You need to spend time alone. Maybe don't spend time at home, because home is depressing. Whatever you do, don't spend time in your house, okay? Maybe you need to take a trip, a solo trip. Go somewhere by yourself, hang out with yourself, go to the beach with yourself, have a conversation with yourself, be like, hey, Pardes, this is such a beautiful beach. I love the waters. Are you having fun? Oh yeah, I'm having fun. Haha. So nice. Oh, look at the seagulls over there. They're just like eating each other up. Oh look, they just left a breadcrumb over there, and now the pigeons are coming to get it, but the seagulls are like, no, don't take that. That's mine. You get away there. Go and find your own breadcrumb. And yeah, it's nice. I do it a lot. I learned to do it more as I get older. Go and spend time, take a trip by myself, go somewhere by myself. Learn to try and not see myself through the eyes of others. Try and build a sense of identity, of self-identity that's not based on others. And I think a lot of women have trouble with that, because we do build our sense of identity often from other people, based on what other people think, because we're so used to always being around other people, because we have this intense need of being nurtured. So we just need to be around other people so much to the point that it builds our sense of identity. And if those people aren't around, we don't know who we are. So it's really important to know who you are. Even, no matter who you are, man or woman, you need to know how to be on your own, because it's not going to stop you from feeling lonely if you are around other people and you still don't feel content with yourself. You can be in a room full of people and they're all talking to you or wanting to talk to you, and you still feel lonely. You still feel in your head, you still feel like you don't have a sense of identity, you still feel like you're not connecting to anybody. So, anyway, this is what I did. I went to France by myself. I went to the UK by myself, kind of by myself. Yeah, I went to the UK by myself. I went to Iceland by myself. I went to Israel by myself for a year when after high school. That was really helpful. And so this time spent alone really helped me to be okay with my loneliness. And oddly enough, the times that I felt the most lonely were not on those trips. In fact, on those trips, I really did feel content being by myself. I enjoyed being by myself because I was experiencing all these things on my own time, at my own pace. I wasn't being held back by any other travelers. So it was actually a good thing. Oddly enough, the times that I felt the most lonely was when I was in this country, in this city, around the people around friends, around, not necessarily friends, but around acquaintances, people that I know, going to a bar and seeing a ton of people that I know. Oddly enough, those were the times that I felt the most lonely. So you don't need to be around other people to not feel lonely. The next thing you should do is you should choose your friends wisely. Other people in your life can either make you feel less lonely or they can make you feel lonelier than you've ever been. Sometimes being around the wrong people can make you feel like insanely lonely, and to the point where it's much better to not be around them or anybody than to be around them. It can be either those people, or it can be not your lack of communication. It all goes back to accepting yourself. If you can accept yourself, then you'll have an easier time communicating. You'll have an easier time communicating about who you are because you've accepted it. You're more okay with sharing yourself with the world because you've accepted it to yourself. Another thing that makes us all feel lonely is this idea of shame. Social media goes back to social media. Thank you, Raymond. It goes back to social media. Someone is saying that I'm reading a script. I feel so touched that you think I'm reading a script, because that means that I'm saying things somewhat coherently. But nope, I'm not reading a script. Oddly, I am a script writer who writes scripts for other people, but I have not been writing my own scripts. This is all totally just stream of consciousness. What was I saying, dude? Social media does contribute to it, as Raymond suggested, and also because of the shame idea. Social media has promoted a culture of shame. We go online and we shame anyone who has ever, in any part of your life, done anything questionable, and we just shame them. And so because of that fear of shame, people are scared and unwilling to put themselves out there. And because they're scared and unwilling to put themselves out there, people don't understand each other. And when people don't understand each other, that's like the thing that brings you the most loneliness. When you're not being understood, when people don't know you and you're not connecting, and you feel like you're in your own head. That's certainly how I was feeling this past week for several different reasons. All right, Daniel Bostic commented. Daniel says, LOL, what's crazy about Pardes is it's all off the cuff. She has no script, just what's in her mind. That's true. Oliver says, yeah, like you put the script into a paper shredder, and picked up the scraps and started reading them out of order. Well, thank you. And thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Alright. Oh my god. I am missing people's comments. Jorge says Brett Stevens is missing out on being shamed on Twitter after he dropped out his bedbugs article tonight. What? Jesus says everyone looks like they got their shit together, their stuff together online too, but it is all an act mostly. Mike says, I made the mistake of letting beliefs isolate me from other people, and I would never do that again. I would never... Sorry. Other people, your comments are getting mixed up, that's why I'm reading them wrong. And that's a bad place to be. I'm getting out of that mentality. Raymond says, if you answer to yourself and stop worrying about other people's opinions, then you won't feel lonely. Your first solves that problem. That's really true. Like, all of that I 100% agree with. And definitely it's important to see yourself through your own lens and not through the lens of others. These are definitely things that I do make a mistake with that contributes to my loneliness when I feel lonely. Starting to see myself through the eyes of others, worrying about what other people will think about me, feeling misunderstood. Maybe I don't feel like other people understand me or know me really well or know what's in my mind, and I'm in a mental prison. That all contributes to loneliness. And sometimes you just don't need to be alone. Sometimes you just need somebody around to pick you up and talk to you and tell you it's gonna be okay and that it won't stay like this. And for a while I thought that I needed to live by myself, just me and myself, just so I can really get used to being alone by myself. And there's truth to that, and that was fine and great. But also something else that I realized is it doesn't have to be like that. I could still spend time alone and not be living by myself. I could still be living around other people. I could still be out all the time with other people. I can make plans, schedule plans. You don't always have to be by yourself. You've got so many people around you. The world is full of people like yourself. You can go out, have fun, travel. You don't stay home. Staying home is why would you stay home when there's so many cool things in the world to do? There's so many exciting things. There's so many places to travel to. It's crazy, and you don't even have time in your lifetime to do all of that, to go to all those places, see all those people, talk to everybody, experience everything. You don't have enough time to do that. Why don't you do that? So some things going on with Periscope, people can't see each other's chats. That's strange. Let's see if I can see my chats. That was a yawn. Can I see my own chat? See, I don't even know how to see my own videos. How to avoid loneliness. I don't see people's comments. Oh, I do. I see your comments. What's up? That's me. Ha. I just commented on my own Periscope live stream. What's up? Sup. Okay. I just gave myself a shout out. This is so cool. Like I'm having a conversation with myself, so I shouldn't feel lonely. I'm kidding. Having a conversation with you guys. Alright. Another thing you can do is you can do live streams like this. Join other people online. Being on Twitter, tweeting, responding to other people's tweets, becoming part of like an online community has really helped me, because moving around from one place to another, you meet new people, you're around new people, but those people change sometimes because you're in another place, you're doing some other thing. But being online, having an online community, it stays. It's not gonna change just based on your location. Maybe it will change based on your interests, but people's interests take longer to change. I mean, your interests don't just change in a day. But that online community, I think, is very valuable. And I'm not talking about social media. Like, I'm not talking about Instagram and like political Twitter where you just like say talking points and just like compete for shares and likes. Or Facebook where you like just talk about your family and how great your family is, blah, 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 and who got married and like, you know, here are their kids and whatever. I'm talking about really finding friends online, which it sounds, it sounds crazy, and people are like, you shouldn't, the internet is not real life. You should go find friends in the real world. Actually, the internet is real life, because the internet has the people you meet on the internet are real life people. They're not just fake people. And unlike the real world, on the internet you can find people who think exactly like you and that you agree with on almost everything, and that really, really speak to you on a core level. You can't necessarily find that in person, because in person people have guards, they've got filters. It's really, you'd have to like really talk to a person long enough and get to know them in order to get through all of that. Online, you really can get to know people at a core level and communicate, and sometimes people are anonymous, so you can communicate with this anonymous person anonymously yourself without worrying about the consequences of showing your true self. You can be yourself. And so I've found some really, really valuable relationships online that I would never have found in person. I met Daniel online. I mean, we ended up meeting in person too, but like, I followed him for a while and he followed me, and I got to know, I think I was following him before he followed me. But I got to know his style, and his stuff resonated with me before I ever met him. I was able to understand his kind of his vibe, his personality. And I think I've had this with a lot of people where I got to know them kind of, online, through their online persona before I met them in person. Another reason why online communicating is really good, and like, it sounds like I'm biased because this is like what I do, online communicating, but the truth is that there's a reason why I do this. There's a reason why I do what I do, and it's because I think online communicating is very valuable, because there's no time and location. It's not time and location bound. You will always have your online community wherever you go, from wherever you are in the world. And you can just go online and they will always be there. Unless you get banned from social media or whatever. In which case, that's a different story. But you can always make a different account, but I don't know. It's, yeah. Anyways, the other thing that you can learn from that is that in your real life, when you do make friends, be very wary of not just the kind of people you become friends with. Do they want what's best for you? Are they good people for you? Are they good people in general? Are they kind, caring, compassionate, no ulterior motives? Also, another thing you should look for in friendships and relationships is this person sticking around? Is this person just gonna, pick up and disappear? Is this person sorry. Like, is this person, this is a question I have to ask in D.C. because Washington, D.C. is such a transient city. People don't really stay here for long. And it's hard to form long-term friendships when people are constantly moving in and out. They'll come and stay here for a year. They'll stay here for a few months. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't make friends with people who are transient, but because some of those friendships actually become longer lasting than other friendships. They're really great friends, but definitely try to have at least one or two people who are there to stay. Focus on long-term relationships, and focus on building maybe 2 or 3 personal relationships in your life, maybe instead of a lot. I can count on one hand my relationships right now that are keeping me afloat. On one hand, that I don't need anything else. I don't need. Yeah, it's kind of like this white noise. This is my 3rd time yawning on this stream. Oliver says, well, if I did go meet people tonight, I would still be drunk now and likely enjoying this more, so maybe good advice. All right. Ira says, I bought 5 cream-filled lemon cookies today. I've almost gone through all of them. If I told that in the real world, I'd be disowned or celebrated. Not really sure yet. See, that's the great thing about the online world. You can say what you want without judgment. And when you can say what you want without judgment, you don't feel alone because you feel like you can just be yourself and connect to other people, and they'll accept you for who you are. And that's great. People are always dunking on the downsides of social media, but there are some really good sides. Don't give in to the shame. Be comfortable with who you are and happy about it. And then that won't affect you. Okay. Now it's time for you guys. How do you guys deal with it? Any ideas that I missed out? Any tricks to the loneliness trade that I missed out on how to avoid loneliness? Okay. By the way, I just thought it was so funny that Jack Dorsey's Twitter account got hacked today. It was just it was so silly, but it just made me laugh. It was so funny. Jack Hack. Jack Hack is now a hashtag, and he deleted it, but they're just such funny tweets. I mean, really offensive tweets. Very offensive tweets, every single one of them. Highly offensive. But just just funny that they were there and they were on Jack's page. And Jack is, Twitter CEO. So, all right. All right, let's see how people are saying they get over their loneliness. Diacritical says, I put away loneliness by working myself to death. There's really something to that, distracting yourself or at least keeping yourself busy with productive things, doing things that are productive instead of focusing on your loneliness. Because sometimes if you just dwell on it too much, it comes no matter what, and it doesn't need to. It's not like, sometimes you just don't think about it. Use your energy to think about something else that's productive. All right. Alan says, you don't know, but you helped a few others get through this evening. Thanks. Keep the fight up. Thank you. That makes me feel so happy and mushy inside. And that makes Winston Churchill feel happy and mushy inside too. Someone is saying, learning to play, early child, learning to play guitar or bass, playing a musical instrument. That always makes you happy. Doug Murray says, focus on details. Clean my room, a la Dr. Peterson. Ira says, I plan to lift a dumbbell tomorrow. So not feeling too bad about it. Jesus says, people think I troll, but finding my Christianity again has given me the purpose and strength. Jonathan says, I take classes. All right. Okay, I'm going to do this thing where I put this. Oops. JF says, I try to breathe to the next breath. LA Child says, get a pet. Even a guinea pig is awesome. Raymond says, you yourself are your best friend and the only opinion that matters. Agverin says, the more world connected around, the more loneliness around. 16 Highs says, go for a bike ride. Lemmy is asking if I can sing. I can sing. Like, if you're asking, am I able to sing? Yeah, I can sing. Will you like it if I sang? No, you will not like it. Iris says, people are always pining over relationship issues, but I tell them to focus on themselves, their own interests. I think that inevitably leads to discovering people who find you interesting. I agree. People say that it's like, oh no, like, if you talk about yourself so much, then you won't you won't be able to like connect with anybody else or whatever. But if you talk about, you don't have to talk about yourself so much like I do, because I'm always talking about myself. But just open yourself up to the world. Let people see who you really are. There's so many fears that we have. Something is wrong with this. There's so many fears that we all have of anybody knowing about us. Like, just think of like one thing that you know about yourself that that the world doesn't know about. And think about how lonely it makes you feel that the world doesn't know this about you. Like, if you are, I don't really know. I know that I've got insecurities that I don't want people to know. And the fact that people don't know means that I can't, the fact that I'm insecure about it and I have not accepted it, it means that I can't talk about it and be myself about it. And the fact that I can't talk about it and be myself about it makes me lonely because I'm in this little, little mental cage. Enrique says, read Carnegie, find out how to talk to people. It'll be okay. LA Child says, I love talking, never be quiet. Talking really helps. Communicating with people really, really, really helps. Ugh. Also, my brain and my bangs are driving me nuts. Nuts! Nighthawk Smash says, thinking of becoming a Batman villain. Phase 1 is stealing all the world's rubies using only bees. Okay. Raymond says, Dear Diary, to all the folks who keep it to themselves. Okay. All right. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions for me? Since I'm the expert on loneliness, and I can tell you some really awful stories about just how lonely I was when I first moved to DC. It's pretty bad. I remember one time it was the middle of the night. I moved here not knowing anybody, really not knowing anybody. I had left. Also, I didn't feel like anybody understood me because I had just left the Orthodox community. So I basically left everything I knew my entire life and went to a totally different world, really, really completely different world where nobody understood my old world. Nobody understood where I was coming from, and I didn't know anybody in that world, so I didn't understand that world. And I was suddenly working for these different people, and everything just changed. I didn't even, so I left LA, and I took a suitcase with me to New York. I told my parents I was visiting friends in New York. While I was in New York, I applied for this place in DC. I got it, fellowship. And then I moved to DC with one suitcase, not knowing anybody, found some roommate on Facebook, lived with a roommate who was really great. The rent was crazy expensive. And then tried to go from there. It was really scary. And there were times when I was just I just wanted someone to be there. It's there's one time in the middle of the night that I was having an allergic reaction, but I didn't know what it was. And so I couldn't breathe and all that stuff. And it was a Friday night, it was when I first moved to DC, and it was Friday night, so it was Shabbat, so I couldn't use electricity. So I basically, and it was freezing cold at night, it was a winter, snowy night, and I walked myself all the way to the hospital by myself. There were just things like that happen, and it was just wanted someone to be there. And I never wanted to call my parents because I didn't want them to be you need to come home now, because that's what they would say. So I just didn't want to call my parents. There was another time I remember that I just wanted a friend. So things changed, by the way. Also another thing that people don't realize is things really change. Just because you're lonely now, it doesn't mean you will always be like that. It's not an inherent quality. People are so, nowadays everyone is oh, this is an inherent quality. Since you're lonely, it means that you have this mental disorder, and it's gonna stay with you forever because this is part of who you are. And it's not true. Sometimes it really is just life circumstances. When I first moved to DC, I was not nearly as happy and stable as I am now, even though I sound but I have friends now. I've built up sort of this little network, and there is a sense of familiarity. I have like a sense of ease that I move around here with, which really helps me not feel lonely. So sometimes it is really just circumstantial, and you have to like ride the waves out. Asmint says, is this for college or high school? I don't know. This is for whoever you want it to be for. College, high school. If you're in college or high school, I would just say, like, hang around people who make you feel less lonely. Hang around kids who are nice and kind and want to have conversations with you and aren't just there to, like, be popular or, show off to everybody else and, care about what everybody else thinks, because those kids are going to make you feel so lonely. Those kids are going to make you feel like even lonelier than you feel when you're not with anybody, when you're by yourself. Like trying to not be yourself. Not being yourself is a really true feeling of loneliness it causes. Mike Carter says, the worst feeling is feeling like nothing you do matters to anyone or anything, and that the world would be better off without you. Felt that many times. Yeah, just the feeling that you're just gonna fade away, that you're just gonna disappear off into the sunset. Ira says, Pardes, do you like being alone more or with others? I love being alone, but sometimes I get terrified alone. It really depends on the day. But I love being with others also. It really depends on the person. Some people make me feel really lonely. Some people, just being around them makes me feel lonely. And other people make me feel incredible. Like I have some amazing friends that I met here in DC who have really been there for me in ways that makes me like teary. Daniel's on this stream right now, but there are about 3 or 4 other people who come to mind that have really been my rock while I'm here, and it's really amazing. Like it's very valuable to have, and those are the kind of people that you can't you have to you take for granted. You take these people for granted because you feel like they're always going to be there. So like, okay, they're here. These are like, I've got these backup people because they're always going to be here. So now I have to go and like network and find more friends. And, like I see a lot of people, especially younger people, keep doing that. Like, okay, I've got the people who are going to be there for me no matter what. All right, they're here in the back burner. Like, they're going to still be here for me. Let me go and in the meantime try and network with more people. So it's stupid. Invest in the people who are investing in you. Invest in the people who want to be around you and want to be in your life, and not just that, but they want what's best for you. Invest in the people who genuinely want the best thing for you, and stay away from people who don't, because those people will make you feel less lonely, feel more lonely. And just really, really do not take the good people for granted. If you're in high school or college, don't take the good friends for granted, even if they're a little bit nerdy or people don't like them and they're like not popular or whatever. Don't take the good people for granted, because they're the ones that are going to make you feel less lonely, and in that case you won't even care about being popular, and you probably will be more popular, because being confident in yourself and happy, makes people popular. Ira says, just recently I've become more and more a free speech absolutist, and I realize the people I like being around the most are willing to laugh and entertain any type of conversations. Yeah, like the more you are yourself and you're comfortable with yourself, the easier it becomes for you to connect to other people who are like-minded and that you will enjoy your time with on a personal level. And it's going to be easier for you to, the more you open up about yourself and your insecurities, or like the things that, you know, mean a lot to you, the easier it will be to find other people who have the same battles and struggles. And you connect with them and you can sympathize over the same things, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. All right. Any other questions? Because I'm going to go to bed. I don't know about you. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. I'm gonna go to bed. Have a good night, Anchor. If you're an Anchor and you're listening to this on audio, you should definitely go and watch the video version on my YouTube channel, Pardes Live, on weeknights, and definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. And like this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video. And starting next week, I will be like really, really fundraising hard on, well, I'll be doing a few things because I will be not full-time with my PR job anymore. I'll be switching back to freelance, and I will be doing videos every week that are not just these ones. I have one in the works right now, vlogs, basically. So stay tuned, everybody, and see you all Monday evening, and have an amazing weekend.